Emma Carter stood in front of the hospital bathroom mirror, adjusting her pale blue scrubs for the third time that morning. Her reflection revealed the exhaustion she tried so hard to mask, dark circles under her eyes, a slight slump to her shoulders. Yet, beneath the fatigue was an unshakable resolve. She had spent another sleepless night working double shifts, not because she had to, but because she chose to. For Lily, her younger sister, and her dreams of a better future. At 30, Emma had mastered the art of hiding exhaustion behind a composed smile. She pulled her dark brown hair into a neat bun, following Memorial City Hospital's strict dress code, and took a deep breath. Her tiny apartment in the older part of town and the 12-year-old sedan parked outside told the story of a woman who had sacrificed comfort for responsibility. Emma's job as a nurse wasn't just her career, it was her calling. Growing up in a working-class family had taught her resilience and the value of compassion, lessons she carried with her every day. As Emma joined the morning briefing, the usual announcements were made, but the room shifted when Dr. Allison Harper, the head nurse, mentioned a new patient. "We've been assigned Lucas Bennett," Dr. Harper said, her tone carrying an edge of excitement and skepticism. "Yes, the Lucas Bennett. He was admitted last night after a skiing accident. Temporarily paralyzed. He'll need around-the-clock care. Any volunteers?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew Lucas, a tech mogul whose face had graced magazine covers. Whispers spread, tinged with awe and envy. Emma hesitated. Taking this case would mean more scrutiny, more pressure. But it also meant extra pay, something she desperately needed. "I'll do it," she said quietly. Dr. Harper raised an eyebrow. "Interesting choice, Emma. I'm sure Mr. Bennett is used to top-tier service." Emma straightened her shoulders. "Care is about dignity, not status," she replied firmly, though she felt the weight of the room's judgment pressing against her. Emma stepped into room 403, where Lucas Bennett was being cared for. The morning light streamed through the window, casting dappled shadows across the stark white walls. State-of-the-art medical equipment filled the room, each piece worth more than her annual salary. Lucas lay motionless on the bed, his muscular frame at odds with the loose hospital gown. His square jaw, shadowed with stubble, caught Emma off guard. He didn't match her mental image of a tech CEO. She had expected soft hands, accustomed to keyboards. Instead, his hands were rough, marked with calluses that hinted at hard work. "Mr. Bennett," Emma spoke up, approaching to check his vitals. "I'm Emma Carter, your primary nurse." Lucas's eyes slowly opened, their piercing blue gaze cutting through the haze of medication. "Call me Lucas," he said, his voice rough and hesitant, like a man grappling with the unfamiliar weight of vulnerability. "Looks like I'll need your help with everything." Emma noticed the flicker of shame in his eyes, a fleeting yet raw reflection of a man who had always been in control, now forced to depend on others. She softened her tone, her professionalism tinged with quiet empathy. "That's what I'm here for," she replied, her voice steady. "And you'll be back on your feet before you know it." Their exchange was interrupted by a knock. Ben, the orderly, swaggered in with a smug grin. "Heard you volunteered for the special assignment with the Millionaire. Climbing the corporate ladder with some extra care, huh?" he sneered. Lucas's jaw tightened, but Emma kept her expression neutral. "I'm here to do my job," she said, continuing to check Lucas's vitals. Ben left, but Lucas's discontent lingered. "I can request another nurse," he said quietly. Emma met his gaze firmly. "Lucas, I've been a nurse for over 10 years. I've cared for people at their most vulnerable. There's nothing common about providing care with dignity. Now, shall we discuss your treatment plan?" Something shifted in Lucas's expression. Surprise, perhaps recognition. Neither of them realized that this moment would change both of their lives forever. The first 3 days of caring for Lucas Bennett passed in a whirlwind of routines. Emma always arrived early, reviewing his charts and preparing everything before the rest of the staff started their shifts. It offered the privacy she knew Lucas valued as he adjusted to his temporary condition. While Lucas gradually came to terms with his dependence, his frustration often surfaced in sharp remarks. "A creative genius who now can't even pour his own glass of water," he said one afternoon, his tone tinged with bitterness. Emma, remaining calm, replied while checking his vitals, Your body is healing. Sometimes patience is its own kind of strength. Outside his room, the gossip continued to ripple through the corridors. Bet she's aiming for the Mrs. Millionaire title, Ben joked during a break, drawing laughter from a few others. Dr. Harper nearby smirked subtly but said nothing. Lucas wasn't oblivious to the whispers. One morning, as Emma walked in with a tray of medications, he looked at her with hesitation. "What are they saying about you out there?" he asked, his voice tinged with guilt. Emma paused, setting the tray down. "What they say doesn't matter," she replied. "What matters is that I know why I'm here." Lucas held her gaze for a long moment, the sharpness in his blue eyes softening. He was beginning to see that Emma wasn't just a skilled nurse, but also someone with unwavering determination and self-respect. One quiet evening, with most of the staff gone, Emma was finishing Lucas's physical therapy exercises. The warm glow of the room's lighting made the space feel more intimate. Lucas broke the silence, his voice softer than usual. "Did you always want to be a nurse?" Emma paused, adjusting the position of his leg before replying. "Not at first," she admitted. "I grew up in a struggling family. I saw loved ones not get the care they deserved because they couldn't afford it. It changed how I viewed the world." Lucas studied her thoughtfully. "I understand that feeling," he said. "Before my company, I was a broke college kid drowning in debt, working out of a rundown garage. People only see the success, not the nights I slept on the cold floor." Emma, surprised, sat down next to him. "I thought you were someone who'd never had to fight for anything." "And I thought you were someone who never let fear hold you back," Lucas replied, his gaze both inquisitive and filled with respect. They both laughed lightly, a rare sense of connection forming between them. In that moment, they weren't just nurse and patient, but two people sharing old scars and a belief that hardships could become motivation. "Thank you," Lucas said, his tone sincere. "For what?" Emma asked. "For not seeing me as just some helpless millionaire patient." Lucas began making significant strides in his recovery. Small movements in his legs turned into more deliberate actions with Emma's support. Yet the gossip around the hospital persisted. One morning, as Emma prepared Lucas's breakfast, she overheard Ben and a group of staff laughing just outside the door. "She's definitely aiming for a marriage contract now," Ben joked loudly, making Emma pause, a pang of hurt crossing her face. When she entered Lucas's room, he immediately noticed the tension in her expression. "They're saying things again, aren't they?" he asked, his eyes flashing with anger. Emma shook her head. "It doesn't matter. I'm here to do my job." Lucas studied her for a long moment before replying. "No one should be treated like this, especially not someone who's dedicated to helping others. I won't let it continue." The next morning, during a hospital-wide meeting, Lucas appeared in his wheelchair, his presence commanding despite his seated position. A hush fell over the room as he cleared his throat, his eyes scanning the room with quiet authority. "I have something to say," he began, his voice steady and deliberate. Lucas turned his gaze toward Dr. Harper, then swept it across the assembled staff. "I've heard every whisper, every rumor. I've seen how you've treated Emma, one of the most dedicated and skilled nurses I've ever met. Without her, I wouldn't be standing here today." His tone sharpened, cutting through the tension in the room like a blade. "Without her, I wouldn't have made the progress I have," Lucas said firmly. "And if this is how you treat your most dedicated staff, I'll reconsider any future collaborations with this hospital." Emma stood quietly in the back, her eyes moist but not letting tears fall. Lucas's words were more than just a defense. They were a declaration of her worth. After the meeting, when they were alone in the room, Lucas smiled at her. "Thank you for trusting me," he said. Emma replied, her voice soft but filled with emotion, "And thank you for believing in me." Weeks later, Lucas had made remarkable strides in his recovery. He could stand with minimal assistance and had begun taking short, independent steps in the physical therapy room. Each time he progressed, Emma's pride was evident in her warm, encouraging smile. One evening, Lucas asked Emma to accompany him to the hospital garden, a tranquil spot he had come to appreciate during his treatment. Emma agreed, pushing his wheelchair along the shaded path. "Emma," Lucas began, his voice deeper and more serious than usual, "you've done more for me than anyone else, not just for my body, but for my spirit." Emma stopped the wheelchair, sitting down beside him. "You've accomplished so much on your own. I was just here to support you." Lucas shook his head, his eyes filled with emotion. "No, you're the one person who saw me not as a patient or a wealthy man, but simply as a human being." Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Opening it, he revealed a simple but elegant ring. "I don't just want to thank you, Emma," Lucas began, his voice trembling slightly as he reached for her hand. "You've shown me a strength I didn't know I needed, a kindness that's changed me forever. You've stood by me at my lowest, and I can't imagine facing life without you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, sharing every hardship and every joy. Will you marry me?" Emma froze, staring at Lucas for what felt like an eternity. Finally, her face broke into a radiant smile, her eyes shining with happiness. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling. Lucas stood, taking a step toward Emma on his own, and embraced her tightly. Their wedding wasn't just a promise of a joyful future, but a testament to the strength of a bond forged through trials and perseverance. The small hospital garden, once a sanctuary for Lucas during his most challenging days, now bloomed with fresh flowers and warm sunlight. Rows of chairs were neatly arranged, filled with close friends and family of Emma and Lucas, along with a few of their colleagues from the hospital. Emma walked down the aisle, draped in an elegant white gown, her natural beauty glowing with happiness. Lucas, now fully recovered, stood waiting at the end of the aisle, his smile gentle yet full of pride. "I once thought I had everything," Lucas said during their vows. "But you've taught me that life only truly matters when you have someone to share it with." Emma smiled, her voice trembling with emotion. "I once believed I was just a nurse, someone working behind the scenes, but you showed me that the small things I do can change someone's life." The ceremony ended with applause, laughter, and tears of joy. It wasn't just the start of a new life together, but a declaration that great challenges often lead to the most beautiful outcomes. A few weeks later, Emma officially joined the healthcare technology project Lucas had founded, taking on a key role in developing patient care protocols. The pair were not just life partners, but also collaborators, building a system of care grounded in empathy and dignity. Sitting in her new office, her wedding ring catching the light, Emma smiled as she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The cruel whispers and challenges at the hospital were now a distant memory. Ahead of her lay a promising future with the man she loved. After their wedding, Emma and Lucas dove into developing the Dignity System healthcare project with unwavering dedication. The software they co-designed not only tracked physical recovery, but also measured patients' mental and emotional progress. Emma brought all her experience to the project, drawing on the smallest lessons from her daily care routines. The little things, a smile, a word of encouragement, a gentle touch to reassure, don't just help patients heal, they help them feel valued, Emma explained during a presentation at a major healthcare conference. Lucas, now back as CEO, frequently praised Emma's contributions. He often recounted the story of how she cared for him during his most difficult days, moving audiences and partners alike. Though their work kept them busy, Emma and Lucas always made time to cherish the simple joys of life. One evening, after wrapping up a hectic workday, they sat together at their cozy kitchen table, laughing over memories of their first meeting. "Did you ever think life would turn out like this?" Emma asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "No," Lucas replied, taking her hand. "But I knew from the moment you walked into that hospital room, my life would never be the same." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. She hadn't just found love. She had built a legacy that would change the lives of thousands of patients around the world. Years after the Dignity System was widely implemented, Emma and Lucas not only found professional success, but also received unexpected personal news. Emma was pregnant. The revelation that they were expecting twins, a boy and a girl, brought immeasurable excitement and joy. Lucas, once accustomed to managing large-scale projects, now spent hours reading parenting books and preparing for his new role as a father. On a crisp spring morning, Emma gave birth to 2 healthy babies at the same hospital where she and Lucas had first met. Lucas held her hand tightly as they saw their children for the first time. Ethan with Lucas's piercing blue eyes, and Lily with Emma's gentle smile. "We created something miraculous," Lucas whispered, his voice thick with emotion as he cradled Ethan close to his chest. His gaze flickered to Emma, who was gently rocking Lily, her face radiant despite the exhaustion of labor. "I never thought I'd be here, holding this moment with you," he added softly, his voice breaking as he kissed Ethan's forehead. Emma smiled, watching Lucas hold their son while she gently rocked Lily in her arms. "Not just miraculous," she replied, "but the start of something new." A few weeks later, as the family settled into life with their newborns, Emma received a letter from the United Nations. They wanted to honor the dignity system as a global innovation and invited Emma to speak at the General Assembly. Lucas, rocking Ethan to sleep in his arms, chuckled softly. "I think our kids will be proud of what their parents have accomplished." Emma nodded, her eyes filled with joy and hope. "And I think we've not only changed the world for patients, but also for our children." Their little family stepped into a new chapter, pioneers in healthcare and parents to a promising pair of twins, symbolizing a future filled with love and compassion.